mass media is communication, whether it's in a written form, whether it's broadcasted on the news, or if it's spoken. The way that it reaches a large audience is mass media communication. And of course, we know it reaches 5 generations as an audience. Mass media is a very powerful force in modern culture. Specifically in America, America sets the tone for a lot of the media and the aspects of the things that have to do with the culture. Sociologists refer to this as mediated culture, where media reflects and creates the culture. That's so interesting. Media, of course, or mass media, is so diverse, and it's just this collage and collection of technology, and we use all these different forms to reach every level of audience. So let's take a short look at this quick video clip that helps better define mass.
Hello everybody. In this video we will be discussing mass media, its advantages and its disadvantages. Today, some of the most common forms of mass media are the radio, internet, newspaper, and television. So just as with everything that we use, mass media also has its advantages and its disadvantages. Let's start with the advantages. Number 1, it helps us learn new things. So whether you're looking for the best pizza recipe or you're looking to understand a math lesson that you didn't understand at school, mass media gives you resources to learn new things. Number 2, mass media helps us spread news and information quickly and easily. So if you heard on TV that there was a big storm coming, you could share with your friends information about whether or not there will be school the next day. Number 3, it helps people around the world understand each other and accept their differences. So without leaving your home, you can learn about other countries, their culture, their food, and their music through different forms of mass media. Now let's talk about the disadvantages. Number 1. It can spread false information about people and events, which can be extremely dangerous, especially if you think of cyberbullying and other people spreading rumors about each other, which can really hurt other people. Number 2, it distracts you from studying, working, and spending time with your family. So instead of focusing on schoolwork or talking to the people at your dinner table or the people at work, many people just stare into their phones all day playing games and reading the news. So what does this all mean? Should we stop using mass media altogether? Of course not. I mean, you couldn't do that if you wanted to. The answer is to be smart. Don't believe everything you see or hear on mass media. Also, be safe. Do not share personal information over mass media.
Created using Powtoon.
Okay. Please stop. Sorry, just a moment, guys. I don't know why this does this. Sorry. Okay, so so that gives us some overall information as far as what the advantages and disadvantages have to do with mass communication. And as Levi shared, it's definitely not going away. So let's talk to Kennedy. Are you there with us? Kennedy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey there.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Thank you. So they talked about some of the advantages and disadvantages of mass media. Can you tell us a couple of examples or takeaways that you got from the advantages?
Um, Definitely, kind of making the world feel smaller, like being able to know news that's going on the other side of the world is really nice. Like being able to have um, like friends on the other side of the world, like if you have like a foreign exchange friend that you meet in high school, and then being able to stay in contact with them more than just letters like they used to, I'm assuming, in the past. Yeah, just kind of making the world feel smaller.
Okay, very good. Good observation. Absolutely. More specifically, just to kind of reiterate the main things having to do with the sheer advantages, one has to do with specifically, it provides educational resources. It provides updated news as we see different 24-hour, news stations that are available for us to stay updated on all of the news and current events. It provides various resources, documentaries that are available, at a push of a button, finding out about sustainability, finding out about various aspects of how to self-improve ourselves, as well as the entertainment aspect of it. So those are some of the general advantages. Some of the disadvantages, which some of us unfortunately have been victim to, could be, having our identity stolen, and or being, having negative input, such as bullying. Those type of things are definitely obvious, and we have to really become aware of that and protect ourselves, be responsible. Also, the other negative or disadvantages, media can be a distraction to us. And so we have to learn how to really monitor ourselves in order to make sure. Mass media. Here you go. Yep. Within the vast generations that are I'm working this out today, guys. Okay. Next, we're going to move into the role, and the role of mass media and how it actually influences us. Now we're going to move into the actual role and the role that mass media plays, which is so critical as to the various ways that it uses this media platform to manipulate our ideas and to have heavy suggestions that influences our mindset culturally. Mass media, we know, is communication, and we use all of these different forms throughout the world to navigate through, sharing information on, TV, movies, advertisements, specifically various movies, whether they're movies, the topic becomes very influential within the population and the popularity of movies, and how the internet now is very persuasive and giving opinions, and of course newspaper, magazines, and even fashion influences the role and the mind having to do with how we engage in mass media. This brings us to the point of really discussing the various venues of mass media, such as we see here, of course, internet, radio, magazine, television, newspapers. We want to see what sociologists, what they look at and prescribe the fallout of the significance of mass media. So we know that mass media is very important with regard to modern culture, pop culture, having to do with specifically the Western world, whereas psychologists really refer to this as mediated culture, having to do with media really reflects what's happening in culture. So needless to say with that advertisers and those that are very much influencing media, they have a direct say in what they are going to put on mass media. You know, communities and individuals are just inundated with this constant messaging from just a multitude of sources, you know, billboards, suggestive advertising that we're not even really aware of. We have these messages that we get from different products, setting a certain mood or specifically giving us or persuading our attitudes. And all of this is providing a way that subliminally shows the significance and power that is behind mass media. So we need to, throughout this section and topic, really look at the different ways that symbolize our culture and media, pop culture, modern culture, and really take a look at how it influences us. Is it truly a good thing? Or does it need a little bit of modification? What do you think? Okay, with that being said, you know, this term mediated culture, so that in itself, you know, we know that media is what we're saying, that our culture is now becoming so enticed by what is being said according to internet, you know, the messaging there, TV, radio, newspapers, and magazines. We're stating here that this mediated culture is now being specifically influenced by what media tells us that is important. And how do we maintain our own identity and without being, you know, too influenced from media? So let's have a little conversation about that. And I just want you to think about that just a moment, about what the true significance, just to make sure you're clear on that. So let's go with Maggie G. Maggie, are you there? Maggie might not be there. Okay, Nicholas. Nicholas, are you with us? Okay, let's take a volunteer. Anyone there that, let's see.
I'll go.
Okay, Savannah, perfect, thank you.
So you're asking like how to be involved in media without it like taking over your life, kind of?
That's kind of it. I mean, I want to hear what your definition is about this mediated culture. What does that mean to you? A mediated culture?
Everyone just like sharing what they do and how they live through the internet and their phones, because there's, I don't know, it's become normalized.
Absolutely. And so when we look at that, these are the reason why it's really significant, is because we have to really be aware of the information and the messages that are really causing us to have new opinions. And are we losing our own individual culture, right? So what we're saying now is that this mediated culture is now kind of self-evolving. It's kind of like a computer where it's just like, you know, where the term garbage in, garbage out, it's just like we're getting whatever is being fed by those that make the decisions in what we are to watch, see, and learn. So it's pretty significant as far as how will we monitor this moving forward. Thanks so much for sharing. Okay, let's go into this next section. It's important for us to take a look at the role again of mass media, and what role does mass media really play? Well, It has three main focuses. It provides, number one, news and information. Additionally, it provides entertainment and it provides education. This form of mass media really causes legislative rules that have to govern what is allowed in media. That is done through media executives. Additionally, having to do with what is allowed within schools, and school officials have to make sure that it's appropriate, allowing such mass media in the classroom. And again, sociologists are still debating this controversial question. So we need to really look at the types of influences that are truly taking place within our culture. We know that through the news and information, it provides a way for media to connect with society and provide news that we're hoping that is accurate information that's being passed on to the masses. Additionally, this information is why and what is being presented in an era such as, a timely manner, updated information having to do with age appropriateness. The next portion, when we look at entertainment, of course, mass media is mostly used by the masses to amuse people, to entertain individuals. So where do the limits come from when certain entertainment becomes offensive or derogatory to certain cultural beliefs, ideas? And again, as mentioned within education, we use mass media, or we can use it in sharing knowledge and for providing ways to study. So it's a very important role that media does play. And we need to ask the question, who's responsible for maintaining its integrity? Let's take a look at that point. Okay, let's have a quick conversation just with that thought process. And I'm going to ask Karen, are you available, Karen? Hi, Karen.
Hello.
Hi there. So just kind of thinking out loud and getting different perspectives, in your opinion, who takes ownership of the responsibility of what is being aired on our TVs and on all the different portals? Who do you think is responsible for maintaining that and the integrity of that?
I'm sorry, it's a little lagging from my end. Could you repeat the question?
Sure. Who do you think is responsible for maintaining the integrity having to do with the different portals and mass media?
Oh, so I think it's the population which the media is targeting. So if someone starts some kind of blog or on a specific topic and people feed into that, well, that organization or the one behind it creating it's going to be creating more and releasing more of that specific topic.
Okay, great. And so the individual that originally starts the posting, et cetera, kind of, you're saying, is generating the tone of where it's going, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you feel, I mean, that's pretty much what you're saying, maybe in blogging and social media, but what about in the television and motion picture industry? Where do you think the responsibility lies? Does it lie on the consumer or the executives? Or you're not sure? It's okay.
I think now that really got thinking. It could be, well, I think it could go either way, because if it relies on the executives, it could be that they're looking at what consumers, I guess, want or what they do, so they make productions based on what is influencing society.
Okay, very good point. Yes, thank you for that. I know that was a lot, but yeah, thank you. All right. All right, let's move into learning a little bit about, let me see if I forgot something here, just a second. So next we need to
Professor,
explore
I just want to let you
what
know.
sociologists, yeah? Yes?
That I commute, so I'm just going to be keeping my video off because I'll be driving.
Okay, sure, no problem. Thank you for letting me claim as their perspective on the role of media. Well, there are certain theories that they use, such as the limited effects theory, the class dominant theory, and the culturalist theory. Make sure that you have a clear understanding on these so you can gain additional perspective for yourself. We have to look at certain concerns and concerns that the individuals, that when ownership is restricted. Sorry, don't want to do that one. So now we are going to just go through the three specific theories that I just mentioned. We'll start first with the class dominant theory. And this theory specifically argues that media and social media reflects and projects a certain view of the minority elite. And this minority elite is what controls media. These are the individuals and the people who own and control the corporations and the product and produce the media, and they're comprised typically of this elite group of people. The dominant minority also includes this referred to as a minority group with air quotes, that has an overwhelming political, economic, and cultural dominance in a country, despite representing a small fraction of an overall population, such as a demographic minority. This dominant minority, or this group, is also known as the aligned elites, in which in general it's referred to as perhaps immigrants. But in this case, in media, it has to do with those that make the actual decisions. Certain advocates, and these advocates that view concern for themselves, particularly in which massive corporations and corporate mergers and media organizations, they limit and have a limit of competition. However, they put it into big business, and it's really those individuals that hold the reins of media, especially in news. So as Karen had mentioned, and we were just discussing about who actually is responsible for that, basically we're saying that the media elites, or this new minority elites of individuals that fund the different projects that and then get the advertisements. They're the ones that are really controlling the situation having to do with this class dominant theory. So keep that in mind, that this is the main area where the decisions are being made by a very small minority. So now we are going to just go through the next theory that we will examine is the limited effects theory. And you can see this cute little cartoon here that reflects how media is spoon feeding individuals. This theory was originally orientated when it was tested in 1940s and 50s, when all of this kind of started, and it really saw an impact. And this theory is called the limited effects theory. And this theory argues that because people are generally choose what to watch, and what they choose to read is based on what they already believe. And media really exerts a negative or negotiable influence in their ways of thinking. Additionally, this theory orchestrates and organizes, and when it's organized, as how it's been tested back in the 40s and 50s under that particular idea. So there's been several studies that have been done that have examined the ability of media to really influence this power that is found in well-informed media and individuals that, from their personal experience, they make the choice on what they want to be involved with. And so you can see that this theory was back in the early 40s and 50s, and things have certainly changed along the way. One thing that I wanted to share with regard to this theory is back in the 40s and 50s, the standards that were allowed on television and, were very, very strict. And, we really only had maybe 4 or 5, if that many, television networks, like the ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox TV didn't come along until much later. And so what we're finding then, with this limited effects theory, that, there's that choice of what's available versus the choice that we as individuals have to make those decisions of what style of appetite we have in media. But the more that we're introduced to, we start getting a stronger appetite for a variety of different genres having to do with media. So that just shows you the course of these theories are changing over time with the development and availability of much more media. Next, we move into the culturalist theory, which was developed in the 80s and 90s, which, of course, we're getting a little bit more modernized in our ways of thinking. And this really contributes to the theories and claims that people interact with media to create their own meaning out of the images and the messages that they receive. This theory also sees audience as how they really play that active role rather than a passive role in relationships to mass media. So let's take a closer look and see what also is involved in this culturalistic theory. Okay, so for a little more explanation of this, we look at the theory that emphasizes that certain audiences really choose what they want to watch among a wide range of options. You know, they choose this basically, some will have the captions on, some will choose to have the mute button on and have music in the background. It's just this selection of cultural preferences by way of how individuals choose to watch and select their cable network stations. So there's been various studies of mass media, and it kind of parallels this text reading and how it's interpreted. That research has completed this evidence that where people that study language often want to read the text as well. It's kind of like a visual learner. They like to hear and see and feel and touch. You know, certain people have their own cultural aspects of the way they enjoy learning. Additionally, researchers have asked different questions that really try to grasp the meaning of a particular song or video that is appealing to certain groups, and why does it produce a certain age or gender or race or ethnicity of interest. So this culturalist theory has a claim that while a few elite in the large corporation or the corporate world may exert, you know, specific control over what information goes down through the media, and personal perspectives really play a major role in how the audience really interprets that message. So, you know, on this graph, as you can see, this, you know, various ways of looking at various media platforms, that really gives us a clear understanding of the diversity of the media and mass media and the way that different cultures perceive enjoyment through this mass media. Next, we move into now let's take a look at media and mass media and the influence and where the influences are derived from. Let's take a look. Come on, don't do that.
With social media sites being used by 1/3 of the entire world, they've clearly had a major influence on society.
Is, you know, the internet, you know, all that stuff that I don't use.
Social media. I guess it's a place for people to connect people from all over the world.
Okay, so that kind of gave a timeline as far as some of the developments that have taken place. As you can see, you know, it used to be very far in between new developments of technology, whereas now it's happening so rapidly that we probably can't even keep up with it. That video was produced probably 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I believe. So the statistics on that, I'm sure, have tripled since then. So yeah, it just gives us a time frame to take a look at the evolution of all of the information. Okay, let's see if we can get this started. Next, we're going to take a look at mass media and ask the question of how is it actually consumed. It's consumed through perhaps watching movies or the radio. Are we now watching everything online through the internet, digitally? Are we still reading books? Are we reading ebooks? Newspapers, are we still picking up a newspaper every morning, having it delivered? And are we watching our magazines via online, digitally, as well as, online magazines, as they do have them, and programming now, as they're called. So mass media consumption, or the media diet, is the sum of all the information and entertainment that media takes in, and the individuals and the groups consume. So it also includes, all these activities with the new media sources, such as Netflix and Hulu, online access to the TV channels that we used to watch. Are people still reading books and or looking at magazines, or is everything done digitally now? Watching TV has certainly changed the film industry, and the consumption and the taste that individuals look forward to is produced by what is popular. So I find it very interesting that even in this new environment that we are referring to as like this new normal, within the mass media and movie industry, entertainment industry, sporting industry, all of this has taken a hit, if you would, as far as, we're not seeing the movies that are being released, basically because of economic reasons. So it's forcing a new platform to be developed, and I'm sure something new will come out of this. I did see that one of the shows, I think it was Blackish, did its first couple of new fall episodes with basic 100% animation. So is that going to be the new normal? And with that being said, how is that really going to affect individuals with regard to the industry as a whole? Any new change will definitely evoke more change. So it's going to be something to really look into, of how this is going to change mass media as we know it. The next two slides, we are going to look a little bit deeper into the functionalist viewpoint of consumer culture, having to do with commercials, radio ads, billboards, store frontage and signs, and that deal of a lifetime, 50% off, 75% off. Is that really legit, or is it a way of consumerism? All right, let's take a look here, the next slide. Now, let's take a closer look at some of the functions and the viewpoints of mass media as we look at how they are utilized in how is entertainment provided. And there is different theories and ideas about it, but let's take a quick look and see what is taking place in the mass media and the consumption.
What exactly are we talking about when we talk about mass media? Well, we're talking about the dissemination of information, or how information is transmitted within a culture. And this could include print media, like books, newspapers, and magazines, as well as digital media, like TV, movies, radio, and the internet. Exactly how this media is consumed changes across cultures and age groups. For example, my grandmother gets a lot of her information about current events through TV and newspapers, but I primarily get this information online. And when we look at mass media, we can look at the role it plays in our society through different sociological perspectives. So according to the functionalist view, one of the most important functions of mass media is to provide entertainment. So it's meant to occupy our leisure time. But the functionalist view also says that mass media can also act as an agent of socialization and an enforcer of social norms. It presents a standardized view of society and provides a collective experience for members of that society. Think about the shared experience of watching the Olympics on television, or being with a group of people to see a movie on opening night. Mass media also functions to bring people together, and there are entire internet-based communities that are focused on things like LGBT rights or childcare, or fans of music groups that sing songs about Harry Potter. But mass media can also tell us about what society expects of us through what it rewards and punishes. So when we hear something about criminal behavior from the mass media, it is often talked about in terms of bringing criminals to justice, which reinforces the idea that criminal behaviors are bad and should be avoided. However, the media can sometimes also glorify behaviors that society as a whole would deem to be wrong, things like intense physical violence. Mass media also functions as a promoter of consumer culture. At the turn of the century, the average US child saw 20,000 commercials a year on TV, and that doesn't include ads on the radio or billboards or signs in front of stores announcing 50% off sales. And it's only increased from there. And it's not necessarily clear what kind of an impact this might have on the next generation. The conflict view focuses on how the media reflects and portrays, and may even exacerbate, divisions that exist within our society, like divisions based on race, ethnicity, gender, or social class. Conflict theory uses the term gatekeeping to describe the process by which a small number of people and corporations control what material is being presented on the media. It describes how information, so things that appear in our newspapers, the stories that are made into movies, what TV shows are turned into pilots, it describes how these things move through a series of gates before they can reach the public. In some countries, this might be controlled primarily by the government, but for others, it's decided primarily by large media corporations. Gatekeeping can also have more of an effect on some media than others. For example, a lot of control is put on what big budget movies are made, but there is very little overhead control of what gets posted online. The conflict theory also describes how mass media often reflects the dominant ideology, giving time and space, or privileging, certain social, economical, and political interests, while sometimes actively limiting other views. The people who make the choices about what media is produced, the gatekeepers, are predominantly white, male, and wealthy. And as a result, stories representing the views of racial minority groups, women, LGBT individuals, and working class people are typically underrepresented. And because of this divide, portrayals of minority groups can often be stereotyped, or guided by unrealistic generalizations about a certain group of people. And while some corporations have taken the steps to try to improve this, they sometimes take it in the wrong direction, which results in tokenism instead of actual diversity, or cases where a single minority member is added to a TV show or movie as a stand-in for that entire group. Feminist theory's understanding of mass media is similar to what we would see in conflict theory, in that it also holds that mass media stereotypes and misrepresents society towards the dominant ideology. Specifically, it focuses on the way that messages about men and women are represented in the media. It notes that women are often underrepresented in media content, that men are often considered normal while women are considered to be other. Think about ads for products. We have razors and razors for women, pens and pens for her. Depictions of men and women are often highly stereotyped, enforcing strict gender roles and emphasizing traditional sex roles. So women are more often portrayed as victims and men as aggressors. And women are much more likely to be depicted as shallow or being obsessed with looks, which also makes it more likely that they'll be sexualized and objectified. The interactionist perspective looks at mass media on the micro level to see how it shapes day-to-day behavior. It looks at how mass media blurs the line between solitary and group activities. So think of the act of seeing a movie. You may be watching it with other people, but because of societal norms or even theater rules, you are actually forbidden from talking about the movie with the people you're with. It also looks at the fact that how we connect with other people using media tends to change over time. So whereas before I might have called my grandparents to keep in touch with them, now I can talk with them via email, or even text message. The rate at which people meet romantic partners online has also increased, which is something that probably would have seemed very confusing to just a few generations before ours.
Wow, yeah, I really, this is one of my favorite theories, of course, because it's most practical. However, I just think they really did a good job in explaining the functionalist viewpoint of mass media. I think they did a great job on that. So within this theory, we have to look at the viewpoints that do truly exist, have to do with, these are things you should definitely write down, an agent of socialization, enforcer of social norms, standardizes our view of society, provides a collective experience such as sports or movies, watching movies, etc., as mentioned. It also brings people together within groups, workshops, seminars, organizations, etc. And that it also is a way that outlines what society expects. So this particular viewpoint is, I think, the overarching representation of yeah, the new normal of what we look at having to do with mass media. Now that we have a pretty thorough overview and a good idea and background on the media and communication, mass media, now let's take a look quickly as we look at the other side of mass media. Well, of course, there are the areas that we need to, oops, sorry, dang it, sorry. Got too involved. Having to do with justice and criminal behavior that is perceived. It could be actual real information, or is it something that is specifically geared towards influencing a culture negatively or on a positive note? Do advertisers, media, and news platforms use mass media to polarize justice, injustice, criminal and non-criminal behavior, having to do with different cultures being profiled and identified and using such images? And the second part, mass media may glorify behavior by showing repeated images of violence and physical behavior and injustice, as we've seen so much over the past year. There are two sides of media. We need to make sure that we are using it respectively and making sure that we are supporting entities that are sending positive messages. Okay, so we have a couple of other areas that I just want to share with you on the next slide, having to do with diversity. Basically, next week, too, we're going to get more into diversity and inclusion. We're just about done for today. So before you leave too, make sure that I get your that you were here for attendance. Okay, here we're just going to close out on this excellent video clip, which gives a wonderful illustration of diversity and inclusion. And if you don't know how to do it, this young lady gives a great example.
Hi, my name is Miriam Alassar. This is my 4th year in Amana Academy School, and this is my first time to give a TED Talk. I will be talking about my idea how to unify the people of this world together, so we can all live peacefully and stop fighting over our differences and focus more on our similarities. It all started one day when I went to the park after school. I didn't have anyone to play with. And then this girl came. She was so quiet and shy. My mom saw her and said, "Why won't you go and talk to that girl? Then you can play together." I thought it was a good idea. Once I went to the girl, asking her if she would like to play with me. She looked at me with her eyes wide open. Suddenly, she seemed confused and stared at me like I was an alien. I stared at her back. Then she said with a foreign accent, "Why are you dressed that way? You look weird." I felt sad because she was judging me on what I was wearing. And so I said to her, "And why are you talking in a weird way?" to pay her back for what she said. The girl now seemed embarrassed of what I said, and I didn't want her to be sad. Maybe I wasn't supposed to pay her back that way. So I got an idea. I told the girl, "I will tell you why I dress this way and tell you a little about myself. And in return, you will tell me why you talk differently and tell me a little about yourself too. Maybe after we understand each other, we could become friends instead of enemies. Then we can play together and have fun." I started explaining that wearing a head cover and long skirts is a dress code for my religion for girls, and I'm a Muslim child. The girl still looked puzzled. Then she said, "What's a Muslim child?" Right away, I had a splendid idea. I remembered the poem I always recited when I felt the need to explain myself to others. I read it in my favorite book, which was called Muslim Child when I was 5, and decided to use it in situations like this so it could become handy. I stood in front of the girl and told her, "Listen to this, and hopefully you will accept me as a good friend afterwards. Please, for all of you who want to know what a Muslim child is, allow me to share this with you as well. Muslim child, child of peace, child of war, from a far-off distant shore. What do your black eyes see? My eyes are not only black. Sometimes they are blue as the sky, or green as a tropical sea, or brown as a trunk of a palm tree, and every shade in between. My skin can be black as molasses, or pink as a blush on a rose, as golden as freshly made honey, or dark copper brown as a penny, and every shade in between. I am the richest of rich, and the poorest of poor, as famous can be. A general's child pampered and bored, a soldier's child orphaned by war, and every rank in between. I come from many countries, speaking many languages, but in one settled belief, I believe in Noah, Jesus, Abraham, Muhammad, and Moses, and in God who sent them, and in every messenger in between. So the Muslim child, child of peace, what do your bright eyes see? I see that we're each a piece in the puzzle of humanity. I'll try to understand you if you try to understand me. Now back to my story. Guess what the girl did? She gave me the biggest smile ever and clapped for me and told me I would love to be your friend. Isn't that amazing how just a sincere couple of words full of knowledge, can change the whole situation? I told the girl, now it's your turn to tell me about yourself. I have to understand you like you understand me now. The girl started to tell her story. I am from Mexico. We came here for a better chance of life. My dad is a farmer. He tries to support my family by moving from place to place, finding new jobs. We moved to this area last month, and I'm still trying to adjust on my new school. It's just so hard for me to improve my foreign accent that fast. I understand better than I speak, and I don't have a lot of friends to practice speaking with. Maybe if we become friends, you can help me, she said. I felt sad and asked her to forgive me for my ignorance when I made a comment about the way she speaks, and told the girl I would love to be her friend. Now let's go play. I had so much fun playing with her, and I gained a new friend. Please, now, for everyone listening to me, I hope you got the idea. We all have to start fighting ignorance with knowledge, stop picking on each other, overcome our differences. If each one of us start to pass a good book, or a nice coat, give a beautiful speech, or write an inspiring story, hopefully my generation can live in a more peaceful world. We all come from different cultures and backgrounds. The way I dress shouldn't matter how people view me in the world. Instead, we should all be judged by our actions and characters. Thank you for listening.
With us, I think we definitely would have a better world. Okay, with that being said, students, I think that's going to do it for today. Does anyone have any questions before we take off? Did you like the video, that short one? Wasn't that great? Yeah, she's so brave, that young girl. All right, so I want to make sure, this is who I have currently here. If I call your name, oh yeah, I do see Simeon, so let me add Simeon on. Okay, so I have Simeon, I have Nicholas, Maggie G, Kylie, Monica, McKenna, Hannah, Kennedy, Lauren, Karen, Jason. My other Kaylee, maybe it's the same Kaylee, Hubbard, last name, maybe you have two, I think. Madison, Adair, Levi, Savannah. Am I missing anyone?
I'm here, Matthew.
Matthew, okay, Matthew. Okay, anyone else?
Dr. Eagles?
Yes.
The Maggie was in the other
okay,
thing.
so
she accidentally came to this class.
Okay, yeah.
Room, but she went to the one on
BLA with Samantha.
Yeah, with her professor.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so did Jason, I'm pretty sure, because Jason I know is a BLA on Wednesdays.
Okay, that'll be fine. All right, thank you guys so much.
And then, wait, you said both of the Kayleys?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So both are here?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know if that, I didn't.
I have Kaylee Hubbard for sure. So now I see you. So I have both of you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't put your last name, but I did put Miss Hubbard at her last name. So yeah, everything's good to go. Okay. Any other questions or concern? Information about the paper? I will try to post an outline for the paper with regard to, just give you an overview of what that should look like. I'm not a real stickler on exactly the word count, as long as you have a clear understanding of your concepts and information that you do that's required there. Okay, so we'll talk about it a little bit more. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you later, and you guys will meet with Samantha on Friday. Okay? Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Welcome. Bye, guys. Bye, Savannah.